Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the World Championship Series Europe Premier League, as we are drawing to an end very, very soon.
That's right. We only have 2 days remaining in the round of 32 before we go into the round of 16, which, of course, like every other season last year, will be played out live from Germany in Cologne with all the players present. We'll have Red Eye here, and it's going to be a lot of fun to find out who can be the champion of the Europe Premier League.
It certainly is. But before we get into today's group, let's take a look at how things have unfolded thus far in the round of 32.
It's been a lot of fun covering these games over the last couple of weeks. We've had upsets. We've had favorites go out. We've had favorites go through. As you can see from the very start, we had that happen with MC as a favorite going through and Naniwa a favorite going out. But as you can see on screen, we only have 2 days left. Group G and Group H today and Thursday.
Yeah, so we'll be getting into that first group for the week right now, as we have 4 players embarking on the voyage with us here in WCS Europe. MVP, Snoot, Hasu Obs, and Firekick. And first, why don't we start off with the King of Wings, considered by most, or considered by many, to be one of the most successful players of all time. It is MVP.
Royalty, Claris. Royalty, that man. Where's his crown, I ask myself. That's what I ask myself. A 4-time GSL champion, a 9-time StarCraft 2 champion. But of course, there's no secrets today. And if we look at his progress over the end of 2013, there was a decline when it came to his results. He won Season 1, round of 16 in Season 2, round of 32 in Season 3, with a complete wipeout against Jaedong at BlizzCon 0-3. And then today, he will be playing like he did a couple of times last year from Korea. This is going to be a very difficult day from that man, from that legend we all know.
And we know how that happened last time with Showtime being able to do so well against him. But let's move on to our second player now. The player from Norway. He is our Zerg representative, a player who's became a real fire starter towards the end of 2012 and onwards. It is Snoot.
It is Snoot. 3rd time in Premier League, so congratulations on those 3 times. And you did point it out, towards the end of 2012, on a massive rise, joins Team Liquid, continues that rise. Then for the second half of last year, hit a brick wall. Physically and mentally, he broke down a little bit when it came to his results. A lot of pressure came on his shoulders. And it came to a point where he made a blog, if I remember correctly, whether he would even continue on playing StarCraft or not. Yeah. And it became a really, really hot-headed situation for him. But in 2012, let's see how he can do, because I know he wants to perform well, and he's been playing well recently. Hopefully, he can get the results he wants today.
Third, we have the Gatekeeper, a fully formidable bastion from the Europe scene, warding off aggressors with solid resistance. It's Hasu Obs.
Just like MVP, 4th time in Premier League. And we saw a massive performance from him in Season 2 last year, where he was able to get that top 8 finish. And it probably looked the best we've seen him in a very, very long time. Definitely. But that was repeated not that long ago. Just a couple of weeks back at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne, he played some of the best StarCraft we've seen him play in a long time. He beat San 2-0, he beat TLO 2-0, and almost was able to make it out of the open bracket. What form is he in today?
We'll find out. We certainly will. And then finally, we have our 4th player. He's a bit of a phantom of the WCS Europe opera, a player whose infamous reputation is only surpassed by the number of swarm hosts he'll probably make. It's Firecake.
That is true, Claris. We're probably going to see a lot of long games today, considering the players that we have. And Firecake, absolutely a massive fan of using swarm hosts. Going to be doing that today. And of course, the 23-year-old from France, his 2nd time, surprisingly, in Premier League. If some of you can't remember, in Season 3, he did make it into Premier League. And he's made it once more again through defeating Strelok 3-1. And finds himself in a group full of veterans here. Of course, MVP, Snoot, and Hasu Obs got a lot of experience under their belt.
All right, so let's take a quick look at how things are going to unfold today with the players and exactly how they're going to be matching up.
All right, everybody. It's time to hold my hand as we cross the road of the bracket together once again. And if you didn't know how this format worked, well, that's what we're here to do, together. Again, as always. So the first game of the day is going to be MVP versus Firecake. And of course, the second has Obs and Snoot. The winners of those games will go up against each other in the winner bracket. And then the winner of that will be in first place in our group today. The losers of the initial match will go down to the lower bracket and will face off against the loser of the winner's match from the top bracket. The winner of that goes through in second place.
All right. Well, that brings us neatly on to our first game of the day. And this one's going to be very, very interesting. We have MVP versus Firecake. This, depending on what MVP is going to bring to the table, I'm personally hoping for some mech.
Kolaris, you nailed it. I'm pretty sure we're going to see mech in the majority of MVP's games today. When he's playing from Korea, we know it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to split his Marines well, avoid Banelings, avoid Storms, and so on and so on. The best way to avoid that as Terran is to play mech. And that's what I feel we're going to see today, unless he has some secret builds and timings. Because despite MVP, you know, who did win Season 1 and started declining results, when was the last time we really saw him play any games? I think it was at the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore in November.
He played one Pro League game, I think.
And that was a Viking all-in, an SCV choo-choo train poll. So, you know, we haven't really seen what he's capable of doing, and definitely could be up for some surprises today. And that's what Firecake will have to be searching for.
Well, the countdown has begun for game number 1 already here as we get into Frost for our first map between MVP and Firecake. We touched on MVP there, but we haven't really talked fully about Firecake, who, again, I mentioned previously, he has an infamous reputation currently in the StarCraft scene. That's because he does like to draw out the game for a long, long time, as his average game length is probably quite
So dramatic. If we're going to see mech from MVP, we've got Firecake, and also we have Hazuobs. With Snoot in there, who does like the odd late game himself. Ooh. How long is today's group going to be?
I've prepared myself, Sean. I certainly have. I've got my drinks, I've got my snacks, I've got everything to hand. Let's get into game number 1, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, our red Terran representing Incredible Miracle. It is MVP. And up to the top left, our blue Zerg representing Vega Squadron. It is Firecake.
Are we going to see Swarm Hosts in this game right here? I have a feeling we may. I have a feeling we may, Kolaris, as if we're going to see mech from MVP, then absolutely we'll probably see Swarm Hosts from Firecake. But, of course, Firecake's second time in Premier League. I am looking forward to see what he's going to bring to this group. Unlike the other players, I think that he's going to be feeling a lot less pressure coming into this. He's playing a first... I would like to think the way that Firecake's approaching this first series isn't that he's playing against a 9-time StarCraft champion. He's playing just another Terran player who's going to struggle from latency playing from Korea. If he approaches it like that, just another Terran player, then things could go in his way. But note, 11 barracks, 11 gas. This is actually one of my favorite things to do right now in Terran vs. Zerg. It's for 3 Reapers really early on to put the pressure on a lot. This is to kill Lings pretty fast. This is to kill Queens, to soften them up, ready for the Hellion follow-up. But it is micro-intensive. Because usually when you're trying to micro your Reapers, you pull them back at the last second on the last hit away from a Queen to maximize the damage that they do. If MVP messes this up and loses Reapers, then he loses the whole purpose of his build.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. He does not only want to try to do some damage, but also continue to have that map control, especially on cross positions like this. Very important to just make sure you're keeping a good eye on what's going on. And in general, I want to come back to the point that you were making about Firecake approaching this match. I feel that he probably has a good indicator in his mind as to what MVP is going to do. I think he anticipates his opponent not really opening up too aggressively. Like very, very aggressively, because MVP's been one of the main staple Koreans who has come into WCS Europe whilst playing from Korea, but still going for macro games.
A la Tefl from Season 1.
Yes.
Where he was able to play Bio, Marine Marauders, and make the sickest comeback that we've seen in a very, very long time. From like 3 or 4 SCVs or whatever it was.
5. Yeah,
5 SCVs.
Crazy.
To winning the game. Remarkable, and he did that playing from Korea. So even though we could be expecting to see mech from him today, I wouldn't put it past him not to care. He may just play a normal game too, and that's what we're here to find out.
Reaper's going to head on across the map, have a little bit of a look around here.
And notice that he sends it cross-map because the SCV, this is actually a really smart thing to do with your SCV scout. You scout one place and you'll always see an overlord. Look where both overlords are right now, on the natural of both the bottom base and the top right base. You spot one of them, you immediately know he's cross-position.
And he's going to go in here and start working away at these drones. The Queen isn't out yet, so these Zerglings are going to have to buy a little bit of time. Slight block there on that drone that does manage to save itself, and good micro by Firecake to keep that weakened drone out of the way.
And speed will be done about 6 minutes 30 in this game, and that's what MVP would have scouted. So this harassment from the 3 Reapers will go on until just shy of that point where he'll have to come back. But how much damage can he get done? He's got to start to really get into these Queens.
Right now, no drones have gone down, but as you said, he's going to start working away at this Queen at the front, whilst that third Reaper's going to reinforce, and we have now that command center being started behind all of this for MVP. So he's just transitioning on to the Hellion play, and then from there, could even exert some more pressure.
There was already a bit of a supply cap there, which is why he built the 2 extractors to drone trick out a couple more workers. So Firecake's made a little bit of a mistake there, but overall, not too bad. He hasn't really lost too much, but the third Reaper's there now. Remember that time, 6 minutes 30 is when MVP has to get out, and this will be followed up by Hellions as well. So ideally, the worst kind of Terran to play against is the one that savors the Reapers. That's what he must do here.
And he's making sure to keep that Queen at the back that is injured. So that's good movements by Firecake there. Meanwhile, third command center so quickly here for MVP. Yeah. Really looking to play this out a little bit longer because, again, this is where we've seen him shine in those macro games, and he's so determined about playing this out.
So he comes back now with his Reapers, as mentioned, for that time, and he's going to join up with Hellions now and join together. He's starting a Starport and a Tech Lab on the barrack, so this is going to look towards getting a Banshee pretty fast in this game, most likely from this position. So more and more pressure. But when is he going to take the gases? Because when he takes the gases, will give us a more clue onto if he's going to play mech or not. But on the other side of things, Firecake's played this out pretty standard so far. You know, just the initial gas to get the speed into third base, and now he's back mining gas with a second gas being built, ready to go up to 1-1 upgrades, most likely here for his Zerglings or Roaches, depending on how he wants to play.
And these Lings being in this position, they have to be mindful of how MVP would follow up. He does poke forwards and have a look around. He sees the Hellions.
But look at the barracks. What's the barracks doing there, Kalaris?
Oh, it's walling off.
This means he's most likely going to be playing mech from here.
Yeah, certainly does. That's very, very nice to see. MVP here going for the mech. And because they're cross positions, this makes it all the more interesting on a map like Frost, where it's relatively difficult to push across. So this could be a very, very long game.
Yeah, there's a lot of Lings that are being built right now. And there's Lings on the Xel'Naga tower here. MVP's got to be careful not to get these units surrounded, or should we say that Firecake's setting up a bit of a trap here himself?
It certainly is. There's not a huge amount of Lings swinging in from the back, only 6 of them, so they won't be enough to pin those units in, but it did enough to deter these Hellions and the Reapers from continuing on. He might get a few kills.
And he's going to lose the Reapers and most of the Hellions here. But remember, this isn't too bad of a situation, because if your opponent commits to this many Lings at this point, then it's almost like he wanted to kill the Hellions, and if he didn't, he would have been in a worse position. So it's not all bad to lose those. But of course, Firecake's been producing a lot of Overlords at this point. He's been able to climb up his supply, and he's also got a lot of drones now to back this up. So not a bad start here for the Frenchman.
And MVP is expanding towards his opponent, so he can set up those defensive locations down the position, the paths that he wants to put on pressure as well. So this is really cool to see, as Firecake now adds on his double evolution chamber, and how quickly can he determine that he's going to be playing? I guess when he sees the barracks in the wall, and he's already seen it, he knows he's going to be playing against mech, right?
Yeah, he knows he's playing against mech, and he hasn't chosen any upgrades yet, so we'll see where he wants to go with this. But there is a Banshee making its way towards a third. There's 3 Queens. This Banshee's not doing anything here.
Yeah, especially with a double Spore Crawler even there as well, just to deter it if it was cloaked, but that's not the case. There wasn't enough gas coming in there for that cloak. So this is interesting. If MVP, I mean, he does still have the capabilities, right? Ah, no, he's swapping over the Starport. I was going to say he might have the capabilities to continue on Banshee production, which is a style that we saw him play quite a long time ago, but it's still very, very strong.
Yeah, he's going to play this very slowly here. He's got double armory coming down, third base down. He scanned the main base to see if he could see the Spire being built or not, but he missed that, unfortunately, but he did see the layer coming in at least. So, and he didn't see the gas been taken in the main either, so he knows his opponent wasn't too heavy on rushing his tech. He is going to move out now. This is a lot of Hellions.
Yeah, it is, especially against only 16 Lings that are on the way. This could actually do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Where's the Banshee?
He's trying to make a wall off last minute here, because the Lings aren't ready.
And that wall can be broken down eventually, but the thing is that this leaves the third relatively vulnerable. There was that Spine Crawler there, but he's just going to shoo on out for now.
I remember he doesn't know exactly if his opponent has Roaches or not, or where the units are, so he does decide to pull back, and if he was to lose those Hellions, then there's no way to keeping your third base alive. So good choice to pull back here. But we are going to see Mutalisk in this game, to start with at least. And I wouldn't be surprised to eventually maybe even see some Swarmhost from Firecake. We'll see where he's going with this.
Muta Swarmhost, certainly a good choice against mech. We've seen it work pretty well in the past. But now this Viking's still doing all right for itself. 3 kills so far on Overlords. Looking around for more.
Thor's being built, and I suppose when this Engineering Bay finishes, there'll be turrets coming in ready for the Mutalisks, which we are assuming are going to be built here. Though we haven't seen them actually... Okay, there they are, 10 of them. But so far, a pretty decent start from both sides here, to be honest. You know, Firecake's played this out quite well so far. It is quite an even game for them from this time.
And very interesting location on that Roach Warren there. I don't think it really means a whole lot at this point, but that's where it is. For now, those missile turrets are coming in, and these Lings actually go for a great run by into the third.
Yeah, and they're going to get quite a lot done.
At least denying some mining time and getting 6 or 7 worker kills is a great little move here. The Hellbats clean it up,
but the Hellions are going to try to get some of their own work done.
I guess this is sacrificial now, as those Mutalisks will be able to chase him down and kill them all, but he's already killed off 10 workers and evens things up quite nicely.
I really like the hidden Roach Warren here, because for MVP, if you think what he's seen with the upgrades he's seen as well, this is just Ling Mutalisk. With the Roach Warren being hit and being hidden, if we see MVP move out, there can very easily just be a massive flood of roaches.
Yeah.
And then just crush anything he has and then take the game from there. That's what he may be aiming to do to hide. Because MVP against Ling Mutalisk, it's defend, get your turrets up, then move out to try to stop him from going up towards the Hive and stop him going up to Ultraviolet to use his upgrades. But we see a switch up from Firecake, which could play very nicely to his hand here.
Yeah, I was curious about that, so I'm glad you clarified that in terms of the positioning of it. And he's just amassing the roaches even at the same place as the Roach Warren, so it validates it even further that he's just hiding it for now, as he's going into Hydralisk Den as well as Infestation Pit. So a very, very heavy ranged composition. Whilst he's going for the Carapace as well.
I would assume that he's going to add Swarm Host from this position. He could go up towards Hive, of course, with multiple choices to be made here. He can go for adding Roach Hydra, which I think is a little bit weak overall. Roach Hydra in itself is decent, but only if you overwhelm your opponent. But MVP, about to take a 4th base, and with a lot of production, is going to climb up quite fast with his supply. So how can you overwhelm an opponent who's climbing up in supply quite fast? So I would imagine that he'd be looking to use the Infestation Pit more so, whether it be to go up to the Hive and try to get Vipers out, or whether he starts to add on Swarm Host himself. For the time being, it looks like a bit of both.
Yep, certainly just mixing it up and matching here, as Firecake's now just within reach of this expansion that he could pressure a little bit, but Thors are already in range to deal with that. Also, Firecake's doing pretty well about his creep spread, which is always going to help out in this game.
Absolutely. Whenever MVP pushes, the better creep spread you have, the easier it's going to be for you to fight and also see the push coming properly. And he did get a couple of seconds worth of harassment down to the 4th base, and he's expanding to the top right and the bottom left here. Both bases almost impossible for MVP to stop mining from.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Unless, of course, he had, like, quite... Well, technically he has to, like, 12 Hellions, but he needs to spot those bases first for him to try and harass them. Yeah. And even then, the Mutalist is just going to try and chase you down anyway. So this is going to be a little bit difficult here for MVP, as Firecake slowly consumes the map and is maxed out.
And also, we can't forget, with creep spread, the better Swarm Hosts are going to be too.
Yeah. This is
able to retreat
up
faster, the Locust can attack faster.
And now he sees all those roaches in the middle. These Hellions are going to get shooed away pretty easily, whilst the Swarm Hosts are now going to start laying waste to this 3rd base location. And he's got to be very, very careful about where he positions himself as MVP.
Yep, and MVP goes for Hellions at the north, but great counter move here from Firecake to have his roaches already there. But the Swarm Host job at the moment is just, to, as you said, chip away at the Terran player, get rid of a couple of Hellions or Hellbats. And so far, MVP's trying to get to the economy line, but has failed every single time, as the roaches and the Mutalisks, even though Swarm Hosts are very immobile, are doing that mobility job for them.
Very good defensive setup here by Firecake so far. In terms of on the extremities of his bases, he's keeping his 4-base economy very, very untouched here. As MVP now, yes, he's setting up his own 4th base economy, but Firecake with these Locusts, got to be careful.
I don't think MVP can ever hit a timing or anything in this game. I think he has to play it super long.
Yeah.
Go up to Ravens and play this out super long. If he tries to move out, the Swarm Host will slow him down. There's a bunch of roaches. There's Vipers on the way as well for Blinding Cloud. There's the Ultralisk Cavern, which will be used eventually in this game. Of course, Ultra is fantastic against mech. Not so good against... I guess they kind of... It depends on the situation, I suppose, when they're good at. They're going to be very good when the siege isn't actually ready to go, when the units are moving across the map and he catches them by surprise. If the units are sieged up, not so good, especially because Hellbats don't really die too fast.
And these Hellions are still on the patrol throughout the map, so they were looking for extra opportunities to try and put on some harassment, but in the end, I think Firecake should be able to clean this up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He will lose a few of these drones looking to make static defense, so Firecake is basically setting himself up for the very, very long game, just taking control of every corner of the map, the middle of the map, and then from there on out, just starving his opponent out.
Yep, this is going to be a long game. This is for sure here. Firecake will be looking to just max out on all upgrades possible. Maybe even look at... I was surprised he didn't get a second Spire yet. With the money that he's got, he could easily start to further upgrade his air units because he only has 1-1 at the moment with +2 on the way, I think it is, for Carapace. But he could easily make a massive Mula switch, depending on how the game goes, of course, depending on what units MVP has. But MVP now going to start to look to take a 5th base to the north, and will also look to add on Ravens to his composition here. And is just going to, like mentioned, stick this out for the long haul.
And in Ravens here are really the important transition that allow him to eventually start doing things like moving out a little bit further, trying to gain some ground himself, because realistically, he's going to be stuck on 4 bases for quite a while, unless he starts gaining control of land. But that is a very, very slow pace he has to play it at.
And Firecake's starting to bank a lot of money. This is going to... Basically, the way as a Zerg player in this position is you take a fight with what you have, obviously being at closer to 200 supply, but depending on what you kill will depend on what you remax on. And ideally, you want fantastic upgrades, maxed out upgrades on everything, which means he'll go back to melee upgrades, which has been added on now. As I mentioned, he probably should have had a second Spire too to be able to continue his upgrades there. But overall, depending on what he kills, will depend on what he makes. And MVP just needs to make the best army, the best all-round army. He can't be too strong in one area, but too weak in another, because one big switch could kill him. And he knows that that's what he's going to play against. He needs to make the ultimate Climax army.
The ultimate Climax army.
Yeah, Rogue. Can't wait to see you in Katowice, man.
That's going to be interesting. Certainly is. It drops scan and sees a little bit of this army and is now pushing forwards. This is pretty strong army that MVP's accrued. He's got 3-3 on not only his mech, but also the air because of those upgrades now lining up with one another. And
I really don't think this phases Firecake at all, this movement out. And I really think that a 5th base is going to be very important for MVP to establish.
Mutalisks are just flying into their deaths, I guess looking to do some harassment in the main.
Yeah, they're never going to be helpful in the fight.
Yeah.
There's what, 7 of them? He only built a few of them, so he's just getting rid of them.
Yeah.
He's going to try to kill off a little bit. They're a dead weight. He'll add on what he thinks fit from this position to join up. And it'll probably, well, I was going to say Ultralisk, but until they're fully maxed out, it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
And it's only a couple more Hydralisks. Since their +3 attack is finishing, they're going to be at the back of the army. They're going to be dealing out a lot of damage, especially with the new change, remember.
Yeah.
The attack has been decreased, the attack rate. It was at 0.83, and now it's at actually 0.75, so they actually attack a little bit faster.
Yeah, they do. It's pretty strong if you can actually get them in good positions. Also, we've got to remember, whoa, he's actually going for a fusion core.
Yeah, battle cruisers have to be added in.
But also, we've seen this style come out before from Terrans, and we've seen the numbers of Vikings that people have gotten before Raven, so that they can deal with higher Mutalisk counts if they need to deal with it. So that's been a good linchpin there for MVP to transition on, but he hasn't realistically needed it in this game. So those Vikings, if they stick around, effectively they'll be dead weight for a while until they try and deal with Vipers and etc. But these are really good abductions.
Very good. MVP, I don't think, really wants too many more tanks, though, so... Of course, they're good abductions, but I think he also wanted to get rid of them, probably, too.
Yeah.
He's starting to add on... Well, actually, he adds on 2 more tanks, so... That says he didn't want to get rid of them, at least all of them. And 4 battle cruisers.
It wouldn't be Group G without starting off like this, Sean. That's for sure.
G is for great!
Yeah! This could take a while. It really could.
Today's group's going to be long. I think we all accepted that as we looked at the group today, looked at the players. I think we all said today's going to be a long one.
We certainly did. I don't think anybody looked at this and was like, well, I guess I get to play some games later on. Going to be going to sleep after this one. For now, MVP is actually moving some tanks up to this location on the right-hand side, but it's actually not been mined from at all. He's been focusing mining heavily on other locations.
There's a lot of other bases that are going to be mined from.
And Firecake's just going to push this away. So this army from Firecake's looking good.
He catches these Vipers, though. That's expensive. But, of course, we say expensive and then think about that he's going to lose a lot of Vikings. Then you look at the bank of Firecake who says, you know what? Rebuild those.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'll be okay for now. Behemoth Reactor has now started for these for the battle cruisers as well. And how many do we have out so far? Only 4. But that's going to build up very quickly. And do not forget that they already have 3-3 upgrades. So a lot of firepower on those.
I'm surprised that MVP hasn't really started to add on a lot of Ravens, because Ravens are going to be very cost efficient against what he's playing against. Remember, the MVP, yes, he has 2,000 gas in the bank, but whatever fight that Firecake will eventually try to make, because he wants to trade off if he can trade his units, or at least get the Swarmos to start doing the trades for him, then MVP is going to run out of gas and run out of money. MVP needs a new base, and that's going to be actually very important for Firecake to establish himself, to keep, well, establish the plan of keeping MVP away from taking the 5th base. So that north base, which is just above MVP's 4th, is very, very important for Firecake. Do not let MVP take this base.
Yeah, it's the pivotal moment in this game, and it's the pivotal engagement point where everything is going to come to a head. As for now, Firecake is slowly, continuously pushing on, trying to breach this fortress that we've seen MVP establish. Yeah. Meanwhile, a double Thor siege tank drop over in the left-hand corner, which isn't something you see every day.
No, but he's using... I mean, he's got all these mech units, but he has no way really to deliver them to the other side of the map, right? Because they're going to be too slow. Yeah. So he's using Medivacs to do that, to harass these points of income for Firecake. But to be honest, this is nothing more than just a bit of an annoyance for Firecake. He's got so much money. He's got a lot of other bases. It doesn't really affect him that much. But there is going to be 2 Thors alone walking to the north, which, like,
standard.
Gonna get this base.
They just trundle over there very, very slowly and start killing off lava. But also now targeting the hatchery. And actually, that hatchery falls really, really fast to 2 Thors.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
That one's more of a pain than the one that he's almost lost down the bottom. Yeah. And MVP, considering, is doing a very good job harassing, considering he's played mech. But I still have the big, big worry is that he needs to mine from another base at this point. That gas, what we talked about, is only 300 in the bank now.
We missed a few battle cruiser kills, but I was looking at other things. So apologies for that, as for now, he's still just establishing this big fortress, and it's just going to be full Sky Terran from here on. Oh, wow, 7 Hellions. I guess he's just looking to go for harassment on bases. That's quite interesting.
Yep. And he's got to be careful. The corruptor count is not that high, actually. So what are the Vipers going to really pull them into? I guess there's Hydralis and Queen, so he's got to try to pull them in there. If he can get rid of the battle cruisers, they're expensive to replenish.
They certainly are. And, you know, whilst battle cruisers do benefit very heavily from weapons upgrades, also, because they attack so fast, you know, armor is also very good against them in general anyway. So it kind of negates one another in the end, as MVP now just harassing this base, which is his eventual base to go to, but
yeah,
it's going to be difficult.
He's trying to clear the way up there. He's getting rid of the creep. He needs to take that base. I keep saying it's so important for MVP to mine from that.
Yeah.
But we have... Even Infesta's going to join the game soon, but Firecake's money is so scary. Like I said earlier as well, depending on what he kills off the most, which he's always going to have to fight against this air. So you'd imagine there's going to be kind of a lot of Corruptors eventually in this game. There's going to be a lot of Infestors for Fungal Growth and Infested Terrans, and Hydralisk at the back with Vipers being pulled in. That's kind of overall his composition, which you'll have to build against this air. But Seeker Missiles... Battle cruisers with full upgrades.
It's difficult to deal with.
It's not going to be just that easy to build Infestors and Vipers and Queens and so on. The Ravens are going to be so important in dealing out the splash damage against these, and likewise, Firecake has to be careful to be spread out.
I love that this base is being escorted over here, as he's actually going to drop down a lot of Yamato cannons on the Queens noticeably to try and bring down all of that potential for transfuses. A few grabs there forwards from the Vikings, but in the end, there's just too much here. He can't engage this from Firecake.
He's lost a lot of supply there. 100 went down to 150.
Yeah.
He's going to build Mutalisks.
Whoa,
it's
21.
very scary, actually, Mutalisks. I don't think if he tries to fight head-on, that's where I'm going to be very, very scared with, because obviously Hunter Seeker Missiles straight into the Mutalisk, goodbye everything. With 21 Mutalisks, he could start to harass the other side of the map, though. Use the mobility against the Terran player. But it's good to see MVP breaking through to these bases. This is important for his game, but you can always look on the flip side of things. There's a lot more bases for Firecake to take on the other side. But these Mutalisks should be on the other side of the map, I imagine, on the right-hand side, and getting over there and stop these expansions. Because what is there to defend over there? A couple of turrets, no Thors. The air army's on the other side of the map.
Yeah, he really has very little anti-air. And this air army, despite it being an air army, it's pretty immobile in terms of going up against Mutalisks that can dance around.
Do you think Firecake can fight head-on against what MVP has with the Mutalisks and Corruptors?
With that amount of Hunter Seeker missiles, I don't think so. I think he's going to have to like bait out Hunter Seekers, then pull back, then bait out, then pull back. So he's going to have to continue dancing with this army.
Well, we're about to find out, because he's actually coming south with the Mutalisks.
This is good. Well, He's going to divert there for a second.
Well, I think MVP spotted these now because he's starting on Siege, but look how much damage 3-3 Mutalisks are going to do. He just needs to avoid the Ravens.
Super strong. There's an actual Hunter Seeker missile in that. He splits up the Mutalisks that did have them, but he now needs to move on back there. He's trying to micro away from those Vikings as best he can do. Gets almost every single siege tank. And just gets on out of there.
MVP's found a 5th base, Kalaris.
Yep.
Down to the bottom left. It was not the one we thought he would take, but it's down there, and that must be stopped. Right now, MVP has no mineral income. He's got like 100 minerals a minute. That's nothing. And his gas is not much better.
Jeez, that's a lot of battle cruisers he actually has accrued here. This is a very, very strong army that he's made. Even with that base being pushed away down to the bottom left-hand corner, I'm not sure how he's going to be able to defeat all these battle cruisers.
I know, he's got to find a way. I thought you'd imagine that there would be more infestors in the game.
Yeah, he's got Neural Parasite. I mean, he did research Neural Parasite, but even that isn't going to work because once he Neural Parasites one, it's going to get Yamato cannoned.
I really thought it would be like a combination of maybe infestors, vipers, and corruptors, but so many Mutalisks is very scary, I think, against this. I don't think they're going to cut it. I'm not sure. I hardly play these type of games myself.
He's going to go up to 20 battle cruisers very soon. This is going to be absolute mayhem. How do you engage into this? He's trying to counter on every single path. He's actually going to get the fusion core. That's a nice pickup because MVP is very, very starved in terms of money. All of his bank, every single hope is pitted on this one absolute armada.
So is Firecake going to be able to find the right units to stop this? It's not Mutalisks. It is not Mutalisks. No. He's added on an infestation pit. Did he lose it? Or he's rebuilding? Okay, he's rebuilding to the top right. The two most important structures, if he's going to lose his tech, the infestation pit and spire, which I would imagine is going to be corruptors and infestors eventually. But he's going to go for a bit of a base trade for now. He's going to pick off as much as he can.
And the army, actually, of MVP here is coming back to defend. I think he feels a little bit in trouble, but the Mutalisks, again, can just keep dancing. The Hunter Seeker missiles, if you are a Zerg and you are just dancing with the Mutalisks, Hunter Seeker missiles almost never connect, unless he, for some reason, sticks around them for the engagement.
Yeah, which he never really will be wanting to do. Mutalisks is like the finish-off move. If he can get rid of the Ravens somehow, then he can come in. But the Hunter Seeker missiles will tear these up.
And he's looking to find them. The Vikings actually zoning them out. He's going to corner these if he's not careful. It's a bit too fast, actually. Never mind.
Yeah, he's always got to be careful with them.
Gets a few more siege tanks. Nicely
50
done.
lings is interesting.
I guess just send them somewhere and go.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Firecake's income's really hurt. Really, really hurt.
Jeez, what a start to the day. I didn't expect it to pick up this quickly, but there you go. We have currently about 19 battle cruisers on the field, just storming around with 3-3 upgrades. Every single one of them's probably got like 10, 20 kills each.
Jeez. It's right now 47 Mutalisks, basically, against 19 battle cruisers, 16 Vikings, 7 Ravens. MVP wins in a direct engagement, of course, as we've been describing for a long time.
But Firecake's never going to do that.
But when is he... He's trying to add on more drones so he can mine a bit more money again. He's going to actually rebuild to the bottom left this time.
It's a good point, actually. He has very little minerals
yeah, he
right now.
Can't actually add, he's adding on more Mutalisks.
And every single Mutalisk that dies, every single one is actually quite a blow. Because, of course, you have 40 Mutalisks out right now, but you need that high number to start, killing off buildings very, very fast.
Yeah, well, these lings are doing that for them.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
They're fully upgraded. I mean, he's got every upgrade in the game.
Yeah. He's this is pretty strong. He's just going to continue dancing around whilst MVP is across this huge map, having a hard time really keeping up. How do you... Actually, I just don't think MVP can win at all now, if I look at this.
Well, he can have a flying command center with his army, and then how do you kill that command center?
Yeah, but that takes a long time. That will take a very, very long time because Firecake's going to keep just dancing around, not only with his army, but also with his buildings as well. He could just make hatcheries all over if he has a bit more income coming down from this left-hand side.
You know how back in the days of Wings of Liberty, when a Broodlord Infestor army would have Spore Crawlers underneath them and you couldn't kill the Spore Crawlers, you couldn't win the game? That's basically what MVP could do, right?
And it looks like
if he have his structures with his army, how are you going to kill the structures to win the game if they're with his army, which means you'd have to fight the army. So he's got like this ultimate army which can't be stopped at this point until we see a switch up from Firecake. 7 Infestors are coming in, but a 7 Infestors or a couple of Fungals going to make the difference.
Ooh. Okay, a few Matters will kill off some of these as they have to fly way out of range. He does not want to lose any Mutalisks. But again, this is... Oh, bye-bye Swarmhost.
Yeah, see you later, Swarmhost. You're not needed. You guys can't fire up. You're not needed.
No. They used to be able to. How terrifying would that be now?
So 6 Infestors, and Burrow's going to be researched to try to surprise units here. So we can Burrow and then pop up Fungal and try to catch units that way. But I think the Infestor switch is maybe a little bit too late in this game. He doesn't have enough, and they aren't going to play the biggest of impacts.
Whoa, and he's actually going to engage with these Mutalisks. They are technically way away from the Ravens as well as the Vikings, so this is a terrible trade, but the Yamatos just keep raining down.
Yeah, the battle cruisers aren't being stopped.
They're not going to be stopped.
Like,
he killed 2 for like 9 Mutalisks. Uh-oh. This is bad times.
I can imagine MVP in Korea right now, touching his 4 pins on his chest, being like, I love StarCraft.
If he collects a few more pins, he could make that into a crown. If he just keeps going. This is crazy. This is an insane army that he's just powering forwards with. All his buildings are protected in the middle of the map. The battle cruisers are doing the rest. Where are the Mutalisks?
There's no way to kill these structures.
The Mutalisks are just clumped down here. They can't do anything. Oh, dear. There's 2 Widow Mines over here.
I think that MVP is going to take this one, Kalaris.
Yeah.
I'm struggling now to see with the money that... Well, he's starting to get more money now, but Firecake, I think, like a lot of people watching this, has just probably never been in this situation before, where he's like, wait a minute, this is his army. This is... What have I got to do to stop this? And
what do you do?
Probably just trying to improv a little bit, playing against this, and well, 15 Infestors is what he's trying to do.
This is one of those armies where you kind of say, all right, I've got to stop him from getting to that particular army, because there's no way he can actually engage this. Unless for some reason MVP decided to fall off his seat and half of his army went one way, the other half went the other way, and he wasn't at the keyboard for a while. I don't see how you can actually engage into this army.
Well, Firecake's got 27 Mutalisks and is going to have about 16 Infestors if he can get them all out from not dying.
What, 6 Fungals? Is that?
Well, that's the only way, right? It's the only way. He's got to get Fungals, maybe throw some Infested Terrans in there, and his Mulus all together. That's the only way he can fight. Whether it will be a win or not, that's a different story.
Yeah.
That's the only way he can really fight this.
Well, he's going to lose another base down to the south.
He needs to get every Infestor that he has on full energy. So it's going to take a little bit of time here before he does that, because he's got to get as much from them as possible. Picking off any loose units. For example, these battle cruisers on the left-hand side. What happens if he fungals these and comes in with a Mutalisk? He's going to borrow. The army's away. The Ravens are away.
Neural Parasite summon Yamato everything. Ah, he's going to try for it. How many Infestors do we actually have left over? We have 10 left over. They're also actually dying themselves.
That's pretty good. This is pretty good. The Ravens and Vikings are like, ah!
They're trying to scramble to get on back here, but this is a pretty good engagement from Firecake, who actually kills off a lot of them, but at the cost of, like, 11 Infestors, as well as a lot of the Mutalisks as well.
And here's the Ravens and Vikings. And 2 battle cruisers survived from that pack. There's still also 6 more or something.
Even that engagement wasn't able to defeat, like, half of the army.
Yeah, and MVP is going to just go around the map, clearing up these bases one by one, no matter how long it takes him.
And what's really cool from MVP is his he decided to keep a lot of the buildings flying, not just like, oh, I'm down to my last command center, let's keep that with me.
Firecake's there, like, I can't beat the army. Let me try and get the structures.
And then all of a sudden,
no, can't
point
get the
defense
structures
either. Queen, oh, bye Queen.
Wow, what a start to today's group.
This, yeah.
And I have a feeling we may see something similar depending on what the maps are.
We may do.
In the next couple of games.
He's landing his orbital commands.
You can start scanning, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to...
Well, he uses it to spot where his last remaining hatcheries are, right? Look, he scans over here, he scans everywhere.
He's like, all right, that's where we're going next, boys.
Yep. En route, man. En route. He only has, well, I was about to say only has 8 battle cruisers left, but... This battalion that he's made is just, it's impenetrable. It's absolutely impenetrable. Even when he killed half of it off, it's still impenetrable.
Well, this has been a fun one.
It's been all right. MVP showing us how it's done from all the way from Korea.
That's right, man. Mech. Mech.
All right, well, now Firecake stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the thing is, right, if Firecake plays out game number 2 in the same way, what is he going to do? Does he, like, try and kill his opponent off early or in an impenetrable mech fortress?
Yeah, he's going to have a bit of a better clue how to approach this game in the next one, and it's going to be using his money earlier and building a better composition earlier. Remember the initial Mutalisk switch? Sure, that was good, But what happens if he maybe didn't build as many and already started to build the infestors that were generating money earlier? What happens if he built 1,000 more spore crawlers, Kolaris, in the middle of the map?
Yeah.
Because you know the big way to play against Protoss when they have the big air is all the spore crawlers in the middle of the map, and you use the Vipers to bring everything into the spore crawlers, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be like, I need to play like this against this kind of style as well. So
Super
we could
spores.
see even a longer game come out from Firecake. But I really think the biggest whole... If we look at this game and be like, what's the big reason why Firecake didn't maybe play this out exactly how he should have and wanted to, is because how many times has he played against 30 battle cruisers? Probably very few times.
Yeah. It normally just doesn't get to that point.
It takes a little bit more than just a couple of seconds to think about what to do, and I'm pretty sure he's already starting to think about it maybe a little bit, ready for the next couple of games if he was to encounter this. And I'm sure Snoot, who's watching as well, will be like, all right, if MVP is going to play like this, man, time to get my thinking hat on.
Yeah. Got to find a way. Got to find a way, because one of these Zerg players is almost guaranteed to run into MVP again in this group, unless for some reason we see him just go through and then play against Astrobs, and then he's out of the group and then he's done. And that certainly could happen with MVP playing like this.
And eventually, Firecake's going to run out of minerals in this game. He can't just keep on rebuilding. He's now revealed he cannot add on another hatchery because he doesn't have the money to. So MVP's just going to go across and clear the last couple of extractors up. And Firecake has no resistance here. It will take time, but MVP will go around slowly but surely and guarantee himself a win in this first map.
Very impressive defensive play and defensive capabilities from him, even utilizing planetary fortresses, etc. in that wall, in that bulwark that he'd set up. It was so strong and hunkered down. And unfortunately, Firecake, for him, he had no answer to it at all. This has been his answer, the Mutalisk switch, and it did not work. So I don't want to be in Firecake's position going into the next games.
Yeah. This is a slow and painful death for Firecake here, and I'm sure he's not really enjoying this very much.
And once those Yamatos lock on, they do not let up.
No, they are going to kill.
GG. GG for game number 1. MVP will take it. Prolonged. We were almost hitting the 50-minute mark there.
For game 1.
For game 1 of today.
Of the entire of the group, Kolaris. Yeah.
We're going to be here for a while. Awesome. All right. Okay, so that means 1 up for MVP, the King of Wings, who really did show those wings. That was...
He did take to the skies.
Yeah.
He did take to the skies. Great use of the battle cruisers there. I was getting a little bit scary about him not being able to mine enough off 4 bases, but he seemed to do okay for himself to be able to build that army just off 4 bases. But like you pointed, at any point throughout that game, if he started trading and losing units, there was no way to rebuild. He had no money left.
Yeah, and I feel that might be what Firecake wants to do. There's the 2 ways he can go, right? He can try and find a way to trade really, really quickly. Maybe try the Mutalisk Swarm Host style and get into the production lines and try and trade things off where he can somehow, some way, or play the huge Spore Crawler style and try and play it out like that.
Well, goody. Altazim Stronghold! The biggest map in the map pool. Firecake versus MVP.
Well,
yeah.
The thing is that Swarm Hosts, I don't feel are that good on this map.
Well, it doesn't matter, Kolaris.
We're still going to see him anyway.
We're going to sleep. We're going to have a sleepover here. Yeah.
Did you bring your onesie?
I did not.
You don't have a onesie?
No, I do not. I have pajamas, but not a onesie.
Yeah.
Not with me either.
I only wore mine once. That's why it's called a onesie now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that why it's called? Is your onesie? Wore it once?
Yeah, I wore it once for that picture on Twitter, and that's about it.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
Sorry, Dad. Anyway, so, yes, Altazim Stronghold. Firecake is not in the lobby. Oh, yes, he is in the lobby. I thought he might be reviewing the replay, and I was like, no!
No, it's against the rules to watch the replay in WCS. You need to go into each series as it is and need to think about it rather than reviewing. Of course, for multiple different reasons. But as we get ready for this next one, mech almost certainly.
Yeah.
Unless... There's one thing I suppose that MVP could do, is that on a map this big, you can always hide a lot of information away from the Zerg player who's going to have a harder time scouting you with Overlords. So there could be Blue Flames, there could be a Marauder Hellion timing or something like that, but it is harder to execute on a map this big, which does give the Zerg a little bit more reaction time to be able to deal with it. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be mech.
Yeah. I mean, especially Blue... like, you bring up the idea of Blue Flame Hellions. it's even harder to do something like that, particularly on this map, because the 2 bases where you can put all your drones there have a 3rd base down on the ground, but then protecting 2 bases, like with that small little ramp, very, very nice and easy. But anyway, let's get into it. As we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, our blue Zerg representing Vega Squadron, currently 1 game down. It is Firecake. And then over to the left-hand side, we have our red Terran representing Incredible Miracle. It is MVP.
All right. I hope you've everyone at home has got their snacks for the games. I hope you've got a lot of food.
Our producer's already lying
energy.
down.
Yeah, and just make sure you're comfortable. If you've got a blanket, maybe, I would recommend getting the blanket out.
I mean, Sean, we've got these DX Racer chairs. You could quite happily recline.
I can go backwards, yes. I can very easily fall asleep.
I mean, I can't, sadly. I have to observe. But recline and cast sounds pretty nice.
Maybe what I should ask nicely from Blizzard is if they could buy a big TV which could go on the ceiling
of
the studio, so then I could actually go backwards with my chair.
That'd be nice.
And just look up, like kind of like the dentist when they have like the Where's Waldo up on the ceiling. You've had that or been there, done that before?
No. Did they really have
Yes. So I was sitting there like, help me, help me, help me. Oh, where's Waldo?
I did not have that.
It kept my mind off being at the dentist.
Wow. Are you one of those people that's scared of the dentist?
Not really. Only when I have to go in for specifics. Then it does get a little bit. I mean, it's like when you have an injection or you take blood. It's just that kind of nervous thing. It's not like you're scared. It's just like, it's going to hurt a little bit.
Oh, I don't mind the dentist at all. I'm one of those scumbags who makes drill sounds when my friends are going to the dentist. Yeah. I am one of those scumbags.
There is, I guarantee, at least one person, or I'm going to go bigger. There's at least 10 people here that
10.
are scared of the dentist.
Yeah, there's probably.
Out of the 20-odd thousand that are watching, there's at least 10.
And those 10 people, considering how many people there are, you know, they might be going to the dentist soon.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, we apologize for that. That drill sound, that was lovely. All right, what's going on, Sean?
So just the Reaper opening again here from MVP. I didn't notice if it was 11 or 12 barracks, but we'll see depending on how many Reapers he builds.
Yep.
It looks like with the second supply depot, it's 11, because you get the second supply depot with this build, because if you're continuing to build Reapers up to 3 and SCVs, you can't afford a command center before you need the supply depot. Otherwise, you just can't produce all these units. So it looks like 11. And he's just going to go for the 3 Reaper harass again, whereas Firecake went hatchery first, then spawning pool, then gas just a tad a little bit after. We'll have a slower gas timing, slower speed timing, I think, than the previous game.
And luckily for MVP, as Reaper gets over in the right location at the right time first off. So that's good for MVP, although Firecake's doing well. Firstly, to keep one drone alive. Will he be able to keep the second one? It's going to be close. He runs away and gets away. So good stuff so far by Firecake.
I love 3 Reaper openings. It's so good.
It seems pretty good.
I'm a really big fan. I think it was Fantasy that used it first in Pro League.
Fantasy's an innovator, man. I love watching Fantasy play right now. Not only like in the qualifiers we've done, but also in Pro League. He is, Fantasy, you are fantastic.
So this is, 3 Reapers, then it'll just be into the factory and 3rd command center. Quite standard. And with the Reapers here, you just want to, if you could kill the Lings off, you know that he's going to have to build more usually. So that's obviously a win because then he's not building drones, he's building Lings, which is always nice. And there were quite a few Lings built in this game from Firecake. Was it 6 or was it 8? It could have been 8. No, how many units did he kill? 3? With a drone, so it was 6.
Yeah.
So 6. That's kind of standard, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
and also chip away on the queens is great.
Yeah, any damage you can get done to them is nice, especially if this is the particular queen that wants to try and transition over to the 3rd base. Once that goes down, leaves it a little bit vulnerable, or even tries to block this off once Hellions come in, if we see that added on, which MVP undoubtedly is going to. And he sees the Reapers going back, because he knows that that speed timing is about to hit, so they retreat on out of there just to make sure that they do survive against prolonged speedling production.
Second factory.
Ooh.
Pretty early. And
Hidden.
Notice he went for the starport last game. It's a difference here going for the second factory. It's after the 3rd command center, so it's not exactly rushed in here.
Could be the Blue Flame.
But definitely could be Blue Flame here from that position. I think this was what... It's not kind of the same. Who was it that did it the other day in Pro League? It was a Terran player, and I can't believe I've forgotten it. Who faked Stim with concussive shells and went Blue Flame Hellions. Someone's going to tell me I know it, and I forgot it. It was in Pro League the other day.
I remember as well.
And this could be something very similar, because Firecake will know that this is a 3 command center build, but he doesn't know if this could be Blue Flame, which it definitely could be. And with the amount of Hellions that could just pop out and spring across the map, with only Lings, which was the focus of Firecake's opening in the earlier stages to defend against the Lings. Remember when those the initial Hellions ran into the 3rd? We were like, ooh, they could do a lot here. But they kind of didn't go. He had to build a 3 Evolution Chamber Wall-off, remember? So just think about that. This definitely could do a lot of damage here. Even though, yes, he can wall off with 2 Queens. With the burst damage that you'll get from Blue Flame, you can just go and kill the Queens and then go up into the main base. And that's definitely what MVP's looking to do.
Especially if Firecake isn't expecting it. Because right now, his Overlords have seen the same build as last game. So he has to be so careful and diligent about spotting what's going on. Ooh, these drones.
Does he even have enough Lings out? He's got 19, and they're all behind.
Ooh.
But MVP, I think when you play against a Zerg player, not just once, but you play him twice, and he tries to trick you in game 1. That's in your mind for the plan of game 2. He's like, he could be behind me again, which he was before, which actually lost Hellions and Reapers for MVP previously. So nice little adjustment there. He didn't go too far, and he really wants to save these units, because if he does save them, then he's going to have a much larger punch when this comes around. Notice there's no Roach Warren either. Oh. So MVP could just pick this up 2-0 with a very simple Blue Flame Hellion trick, which was something that even we kind of predicted before this happened, because it's a difficult map for Zerg to scout on because of its size.
And just in general, this is a great map for Blue Flame Hellion. The Hellions, it's very hard to really deal with them in the middle of the map. They're all moving out now. These Lings are going to spot all these reinforcing Hellions and be like, wait a minute.
He could get Banelings, but that could help. But I think it's going to be too late here. There's too many Hellions.
Without centrifugal hooks as well, so difficult. Of course, he'll have to engage, but there you go. There's the Blue Flame. Now it's revealed, and Firecake has a lot of preparing to do, but not the time to do it.
This is... he's going to lose a lot of drones, let's just put it that way.
Yep, he may just die right now. Those Queens also fall down so rapidly. No wall off there, and this is going to hurt, because now the Ling's trying to pop out. Roach Warren has only just gone down.
Even if the Lings pop out, what are they going to do?
Try and deal with the Blue Flame?
That's not going to be easy there.
No, it's not.
And this is...
Oh, he's lost 1 unit. Oh, it could have almost been a perfect game.
Yeah, this is...
I lost the Hellion.
I think we can say this is going to be almost impossible to stop here.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at the supply difference.
Bye-bye workers. Bye-bye Zerglings. Hello, Roach Warren, but no roaches to be heard
MVP's
of.
like, latency? What latency?
He just kills everything. And, I lost another.
How many drones are left? 17. And there is almost no way to defend his third. Kalaris is game over.
This is brutality, and Firecake has been absolutely blindsided. He's trying to morph in a few Banelings, but separates the Hellions up as a final coup de grace. And bye-bye more Lings. That's brutal.
I think we can all say together, kaboom, baby! As MVP takes a 2-0 to open up Group G here.
A little bit quicker than we were expecting, although we did theorize what could happen in the second game, and Firecake bore the brunt of it.
Yeah.
So.
That's a little bit unfortunate. If he had seen that second factory with that Overlord, it's almost a different game, because you have time to build the Roach Warren, you can get roaches out and the game goes on. And sadly, I mean, I think there's a lot of MVP fans that wanted to see him do well today, but I really wanted to see a long game again.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to see a long game, because I wanted to see what Firecake would have done differently to game 1 to approach MVP's game. But of course, there's another Zerg player in this group which could go to the winners match.
Yeah, and also we could potentially see MVP versus Firecake again. It's not out of the realms of possibility, but for now that is not the case. MVP advances on 2-0 here in the first match, and that means after the break we're going to move on to our second series, which will be Hasuobs versus Snute.